It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Monday morning edition of your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Now, when we fall in love with someone, we generally want those feelings of butterflies and warmth and security and excitement to stay with us forever. Although often we hear of long-term couples speaking of how they are more like best friends than romantic partners, we do tend to brush these sentiments off with a thought or perhaps even a hope that this will never happen or be the case in our own relationships. But life doesn't always go as planned. So we want to ask you this. How do you know when you've fallen out of love in your relationship? How do you know whether to stay or to fight for your love and let things become platonic, or rather call it quits? Our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, of course, is in the hot seat this morning to answer all of your burning questions. So please do give us a call on 021-430-9881 with your questions, your comments, and just engage with us. Good to have you with us, as always, Dr. Eve. How are you this morning?
The seat is hot.
It is.
The topic is hot.
It is, and a very real one for a lot of people out there.
Yes.
So let's quickly start off by, unwrapping the truth. How realistic is it to remain infatuated, in love, enamored with your partner, forever, if you will, from the time you started dating, and you expect that to just carry on forever?
Yeah, so I think that people should be in love or love their partners forever. And what we're going to talk about today is really the signs of when you have fallen out of love. Because in the beginning, when you fall in love, you become very selfless, very giving, you want to please your partner, you're very attentive to the partner. And then there are the slow degrading of those feelings happen, and we'll look at, why does that happen? Into a place where couples fall into the worst place, Kat, that they can go, which is called indifference. It's called romantic disentanglement, romantic loss, and so marital disaffection, it's called, begins to happen between two couples. And the question that I really want for our viewers to ask themselves, if you're in a relationship where you're feeling you may be out of love right now, ask yourself, is there still a foundation of love and care and attentiveness? Is there still a nurturing environment in which you're raising your children? Do you still have hope that you can regain some of that happiness that you used to have in your relationship? Or do you feel you really have lost all of that and have moved into indifference? And we'll look at the different stages of falling into indifference as well.
So before we get to that, let's talk about the other side of the spectrum, where couples do say that with time they've fallen more and more in love with their partners. Is this true? Does it happen?
Absolutely. So as people begin to do more intimacy, and by intimacy I don't just mean sexual intimacy, because sex can be really lacking in intimacy. It's more around self-disclosure and a feeling of being so vulnerable with somebody that I can really talk about how I'm feeling, and I can be seen and felt by this person. And we know that that is what leads to a depth of feeling of being in love with somebody. But you have to be able to feel that this person can hold that and can have understanding and communicate well enough with you to be able for you to become that vulnerable in an intimate way with somebody. And if you do have that level of communication and mostly investment of time and energy into your relationship, you will find that the love deepens into a very different kind of love from the early infatuation. All
right. Well, we'll delve more into this topic a little bit later on. But do give us a call on 021-430-9881 for the talk with our relationship expert on what happens when you fall out of love in your relationship.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
All right, we're back again with Dr. Eve in the hot seat, and we're talking about falling out of love with your partner or in your relationship, and we ask you to give us a call on 021-430-9881. Now, Dr. Eve, let's talk about the why. Why it happens that sense of indifference might develop in your relationship, and what are some of the telltale signs that could perhaps warn you early enough to know that something is not going right and I need to fix it?
I think we have to understand, Kat, that falling in love can't be based just on romance. And this is research which is showing that people who get married under the belief system that romance and love is going to be the only thing that's necessary, they become disenchanted and disheartened much quicker, because they're not willing to do the work that is necessary and face the challenges that are necessary for a marriage to survive. So that's point one, that you have to be prepared to take on challenges, because you're going to keep falling in and out of love with a partner. When it comes to a place of indifference, that means that you are really struggling to find that upward curve of falling back in love with your partner after you've had too many out of love experiences with your partner. And some of the signs, and again, I want our viewers to call us and to talk if you're in that place of beginning to feel I may be indifferent. So these are the signs for you to look for.
Or maybe you've been there and you've come out of it successfully.
true.
Tell us how
Exactly.
you did that.
Yeah, that's a great thing as well. We'd
Yeah.
love to learn. So the first sign is that you're going to feel that all the positive qualities about your partner are no longer positive, and you now begin to view him or her as negative. All those qualities that you admired, you no longer admire, and you begin to feel that they're negative. But you still want to be in that marriage, you still want to be in that relationship, so you're still fighting. And what you do is that you kind of ramp up your desire to please, your selflessness, and your attentiveness to that relationship. You really ramp it up because you really want to fight for that relationship. And then over time, when that doesn't improve matters, or you don't get your partner's attention, or there isn't reciprocity or response from your partner, you then go into the second stage where you begin to feel your anger around this person. And any positive qualities of life disappeared, and you're negative, and you begin to voice your negativity. You begin to voice your opinion to say, I'm really not happy about this, and things need to change. And more you begin to accommodate your partner less, be present less with this person, interact less with this person, until you eventually end up in a place of indifference, where you're just kind of flatlining in that relationship. Then you have to decide, what am I going to do here? And most people kind of have a few options that they turn to. So one of them is like, take flight, divorce. Let me get out of this, let's just get divorced. And in fact, what's cited as the #1 reason for people in America to get divorced is because I've fallen out of love with my partner. The second one is infidelity. So it's, I'm going to get divorced, or else people go into kind of a resigned acceptance. This is just what my marriage is. It's never going to be really self-actualizing or self-fulfilling for me. I just accepted that this is as good as it's going to get. Or else people cheat as a way of managing their relationship or getting out of their relationship. Or else they work really hard to try and escape the agony of being in a relationship that's just not fulfilling for them.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep our lines open.
Yes.
When we come back, I want us to talk about the ways in which you can make it work.
Okay.
You know, other
Let's
than
do
what
that.
the former two that you suggested.
Yes.
Let's talk about the ways in which you can make it work.
Yeah.
So give us a call on 021-430-9881 as we continue our chat with Dr. Eve in just a few minutes.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. We're live, large and in charge. Happy Monday to you, and hopefully it's proving to be the same in love and in your relationship. Well, our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, is here on the hot seat talking about falling out of love with your partner. It's such a hectic topic that even getting the words out sometimes proves challenging. We've asked for your advice and your questions and comments. We've got Roger, who's given us a call. Roger, good morning, all the way from Randburg.
Morning, yeah. I'm just saying, you know, one can reboot one's relationship with their partner through foot massages, you know. Usually, you know, if you're watching TV, your partner puts his feet on your knee, and then you actually use the squeeze-release, alternative squeeze-release foot massaging. That will actually, it actually strengthens the relationship. You'll be amazed.
Wow. Roger, tell me about this technique, this squeeze-release technique. How does it work?
Well, you just go up and down on the feet. You slowly squeeze with the one hand. At the same time, you release the foot with the other hand. And then you go up and down. And
like this?
You do that with the feet, you can do that with the legs. You'll be amazed. That's just it. That's exactly.
Roger, that's
exactly what you're doing.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. Dr. Eve.
Change the face of relationships. I don't need to work. I can just get a reflexologist in, right? And then everyone will be in love. I love it.
Could
Thanks,
something
Roger.
as simple as that
Yeah, and I tell you
work
what
to-
the magic is
Yeah.
over here. It's the touching. It's the intimacy of the touching. The only thing you need to change, though, Roger, is the watching of the television. Because, because the research is showing how, you know, really desperate couples are in terms of finding time together. And they're spending most of their, if you say to a couple, what do you do together? They say Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
They're spending time watching television, when in fact, you should be having experiences together. You should be doing things together. Leave the kids out and
Have
go
your
and,
moment.
and go and have your moments.
Squeeze and release.
Often. Squeeze and release, yes, in many
The foot
different ways.
massage.
Well, Dr. Eve, I'm joining this conversation,
Eve.
and
So nice
you know
to
what?
have you.
It's a topic that I think I'm quite scared of, because what do you do if you realize your partner is, you know, not falling in love with you anymore, or he's not in love with you anymore? How do you react? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. There's a wonderful term called love hacking. So what are you going to do about love hacking? There are certain things, small little things that you can do to try and feel in love and to get this love back because of the distance that may have happened between you and a partner. So one of the things is not to focus so much on the negativity, but to remind yourself all the time of the positive qualities of this person. So, for example, by not saying, this person, he's always late to fetch me, but rather to have a sense of positivity and say, he forgot his keys, or he was held up at a meeting. If one can begin to just change one's language around how you relate to your partner, instead of saying, she's so lazy, she never wants to cook for us, it might be, well, you know, she's so busy, and I wonder what I can do to help her. The other nice love hack is to do something like, to yourself, expressing gratitude. These are the nice things that I feel that my partner has done for me during the day. And also, one of the suggestions is to be able to write down every single day the intimacies that you've heard from your partner. Because people who are lacking in self-esteem find it very difficult to believe compliments or intimacies from a partner. So you want to build up your self-esteem, which is going to help you to be more secure in a relationship. And so you will feel that when this partner is genuinely in love with you, you can reciprocate that instead of having to be possessive or nagging or insecure, which kind of puts you into a place of, I guess, vulnerability of having that relationship go into indifference.
Okay, well, we'll continue our chat with Dr. Eve shortly after a break. 0214309881. And when we come back, we want to summarize what you should do and what you shouldn't do when you realize that you are falling out of love with your partner. So stick around for that.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
All right, back again with Dr. Eve, and we're talking about what happens when you fall out of love with your partner in the relationship. Give us a call on 0214309881. So, Dr. Eve, if we were to summarize a short list of things that you should not do, we'll talk about what you should do now, but what you shouldn't do when you realize that either you are falling out of love with your partner or your partner is falling out of love with you. What should you not do?
First thing is, do not be silent. Communicate with your partner. Don't be silent, communicate. And then I'm going to move into what you should do. With communication, Kat, you want to start soon. The moment that you begin to feel this discomforting feeling remains and remains, you want to communicate as soon as possible and not leave it for a long time to build up.
Well, Dr. Eve, we have a caller on the line. We have Corel from Cape Town. What's your comment or question for Dr. Eve?
Good day, Dr. Eve. You're speaking to Corel. I just wanted to find out. I think my husband has fallen currently out of love with me. We've been married for the past 6 years. Hello?
Yes, we hear
we're
Corel.
listening.
Carry on.
Okay. Yes, we've been married for 6 years, and I think he has fallen out of love with me. I've been married before. My first husband passed away, and now I'm currently in a new relationship with a man who has 3 kids from 3 different women. And I think that he has fallen out of love with me now because we haven't been in contact with each other physically or emotionally, even conversation-wise. So I think he's fallen out of love with me, or is it something that I'm doing wrong? Or I don't know.
Thank you for sharing with us,
Yeah,
Corel.
that's
Dr. Eve?
such a difficult situation where you hear straight away there's something that I'm doing wrong. You don't want to, you're asking what you should or you shouldn't be doing. You don't want to be looking at blame or shame. One wants to take personal responsibility and obviously self-reflect what's going on. But if you have a sense that there's a disconnect, is there, talk to it, Corel, or everybody else who's listening, talk to it. Don't just sit there and feel there's something wrong with me because it's going to eat away and make you, really unhappy. Talk to it. Take the courage rather to talk and say, I feel like you've fallen out of love with me. I feel like there's a disconnect. I feel you've fallen into indifference. Yes.
Perhaps maybe just some advice on the initial conversation and the words that could be used. Because sometimes going to somebody and saying, I feel you're out of love with me, or whatever the turn of phrase might be, could be one that kind of gets a person to be on the defensive. So how do you what are the words to say to have somebody open up and say, cool, we're going to have this conversation without there being any confrontation? What's the right way of doing
So
that?
you're never going to say, you are being nasty to me, or you're ignoring me, or you're neglecting me. You always want to use the I language. You want to be saying, I'm feeling insecure, or I'm feeling unhappy, or I'm feeling distressed, or I feel neglected, or I miss you. I feel like I'm not having the connection with you or the love that we used to have. I miss the intimacy that we used to have with each other. I can see that there's something perturbing you, and talk to me about this. And he may or she may say, no, everything's fine. You don't let it go. You just really want to be present with it. And don't just go into the whole thing of, you're cheating. They may be cheating, but the reason they're cheating may be very much tied in with what's going on in that relationship. So you do want to call them to it all the time. I can't emphasize enough, communicate as soon as possible. Don't let it linger. Don't cheat as a way of falling back in love with somebody or trying to leave a relationship because you don't have the courage to actually leave a relationship that doesn't feel as if it's sustaining you enough.
All right, Dr. Eve, thank you so much. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have, but you can engage with Dr. Eve on social media at @dr_Eve and continue the conversation. I know earlier on you said that there's a blog that you wrote about
exactly.
it as well.
On my website and on Instagram and on Facebook as well. You can go and continue the conversation.
Yeah, of course, it's not a situation that we expect or hope to find ourselves in, but it's good to know the signs of falling out of love and how to equip yourselves with the necessary skills and what you should do if ever you should find yourself in that situation. Thank you, Dr. Eve. Thanks, babe.
Oh.